Taking on another Transformers Prime episode today, we're looking at the episode Synthesis, where we finally get the payoff for all of that Ratchet working with the Decepticon stuff, and frankly, we don't get enough of this. We don't get enough of him working with them. It's really actually pretty cool getting to see him, well, outsmart them, frankly. The episode picks up basically exactly where the last episode left off. Team Prime is getting ready to launch their faux Laserbeak drone in the hopes that it'll lead them back to the Nemesis. And it's kind of a shallow hope. Like, it's a good idea, don't get me wrong, and it's really the best idea they have. But it's kind of a shallow hope, because they're having Optimus trail after it instead of, like, putting a GPS on it, because the Decepticons should know how to follow a GPS signal by now. But they're hoping that it'll get close enough to the Nemesis that Optimus will be able to see the ship before they detect Laserbeak's signal and realize, hey, that's wrong, because Laserbeak's, like, right here next to me, man. But, like, Laserbeak and Soundwave can communicate with each other over pretty vast distances. They should know that this isn't going to work, but it's really the only option they have, so they run with it. Meanwhile, Ratchet is working with the Decepticon resources to find the stable version of the synthetic energon formula, and we get to see some really cool shop talk between him and Shockwave, where they kind of get on the same page with each other on what each other knows about this project. And, like, it's all gibberish, made-up science technobabble crap, but it's cool to see these two characters in their element interacting with each other, considering this is a caliber of Autobot-Decepticon interaction that we never really get to see. But just as Megatron proved clever enough to play Ratchet in the previous episode and get him to agree to this, regardless of whether or not Ratchet's really on board with it or not so that he can utilize Ratchet's intellect, Ratchet plays Shockwave and Knockout, who they're using as kind of a lab assistant. He's quick to make note when Knockout lets slip that the Decepticons allowed the Autobots to destroy the Predacons. And he's able to immediately pin down Knockout's dynamic in this group and use it to buy himself time to start to lay a false trail and make it seem as if he isn't making the progress that he actually is. And then, when he finally cracks the formula, very quickly I might add, given the Decepticon's superior lab technology, he deletes his final findings, relying on that false trail he led to keep the Decepticons from being able to retrace his steps, and then takes the first opportunity he has to escape the lab and send a message to the Autobots so they can trace his signal back and actually invade the ship. I would have liked if there had been some additional interaction here, where the fact that Optimus followed the faux Laserbeak most of the way back meant that he was in position to help Ratchet in some way or another. But in the end, the fact that he managed to follow the faux Laserbeak back as far as he did really only accomplishes one thing. Starscream sends his armada against Optimus, and Optimus takes out Starscream's armada. I don't know if he has any more of them. I don't remember we see any more of them in the last few episodes of the show, but for the most part, they're removed from the equation. Granted, Ratchet's plan doesn't go off entirely without a hitch before he's able to contact the Autobots and give them his coordinates. He is caught by Megatron and given to Predaking, since Predaking wants to punish any Autobot he can for the death of his comrades. But again, Ratchet takes full advantage of the situation, helping Predaking to see that Megatron really was at least as responsible for the death of the Predacons as the Autobots were. It's really the only thing that makes sense, and in the moment that he tells Predaking this, and he's like, really think about it, dude, he's scared of you, you can almost see Predaking recalling all of the instances recently where Megatron has seemed afraid of him, seemed as if he was asserting dominance over him, and enraged that his own allies could be so callous towards him and his people, he abandons his destruction of Ratchet and goes on a rampage, taking out most of the Decepticons' remaining forces. In the end, Ratchet really does end up rescuing himself, and it's absolutely glorious. Again, I wish the other Autobots had had more of a role in it, but, like, for what it is, it's just spectacular, since Ratchet is a very strong character anyway. And the episode ends on a really strong note, with the Autobots marching off to invade the Nemesis in force, loading themselves up with all of the best weapons they have at their disposal. and with Megatron taking a stand against Predaking, fighting him directly, and almost losing. It's actually because, of all people, Starscream was there that Megatron's able to come out on top. Starscream, of course, shoots Predaking in the back, giving Megatron a chance to turn the tables. So, I guess the absolutely asinine-seeming decision to leave Starscream alive all this time actually paid off. Really, the most baffling thing about this scene, honestly, is that Megatron has Knockout run off to get the Dark Star Saber out of their vault. But, like, am I forgetting something? Or, like, shouldn't Megatron not be able to use that anymore since he has both of his arms again? Since he doesn't have the arm of a Prime anymore? Like, am I forgetting? Like, it's very possible I'm forgetting something. Am I forgetting something? Please tell me if I am. Because I didn't think he could do that anymore. I didn't think he could use the sword anymore. But Predaking has been thrown from the ship and is seemingly removed from the equation. Megatron has his strongest weapon in hand since Knockout arrives with it just after Megatron beats Predaking. And both forces are coming to one final clash. It's an absolutely spectacular setup to a pretty darn good episode. The next episode is pretty freaking good. But frankly, that's all that happens in this one, really. This is a very simplistic episode. It moves really fast. Like, it's very fast-paced. One thing happens after another. So that's part of the reason why it feels as sparse as it is. But there really isn't a ton that happens here. It makes me wonder if they really needed to draw this out into its own entire episode. But then, upon wondering that, I think back on some of the absolutely fantastic interactions we got here. Like, Knockout was absolutely delightful in this episode, as he usually is. Some of the action set pieces were really great, and seeing all of Ratchet's machinations was pretty gosh darn fantastic. So, yeah, even if this one, this one really only felt like half as long as a regular episode. I want to be clear about that. Even though that's the case, I really do feel like this was a necessary cog in this machine. And as we were able to anticipate a couple episodes back based on everything that was happening, we have exactly the situation here that it seemed like we were going to end up with. The means to restore Cybertron are at hand, and the two sides in this war are about to fight over it. In a situation where the Decepticons have control of the device needed, and they're not going to make it easy for the Autobots to just blow it up if things go bad. So it really is going to come down to whichever side wins this conflict. Whichever side's maneuvers give them the advantage longer, or let's not kid ourselves, more likely, whichever side's mistakes cost them less, they are going to come out of this with the ability to restore their home planet. And in the meantime, that exact same MacGuffin gives the villains the potential power to destroy the Earth. So if the Autobots don't secure it, their adopted home is destroyed as well. And what a fantastic set piece to center your finale of a Transformers show around. Like, Prime has had some real weaknesses over its run. Things that I have complained about that just don't make sense in general, but just don't make sense in universe either. Up to and including some absolutely baffling choices made by these characters. Out of character, baffling choices. But it is overall a really quality show. And I think the strength of this final set piece really goes a long way towards cementing that impression in the minds of the viewer. And if I'm not mistaken, if my timeline's not off, we only have like one more proper episode after this, and then it's the movie. But yeah, this is a good one. I like where it ends off. I like what it sets up, and I'm really looking forward to going and watching that next episode right now and taking the notes I need to make that review, because I'm going to be recording that today too. Anyway, as per usual, guys, I'd like to know, what do you think of the Transformers Prime episode synthesis, if you have seen it, and what do you think of this final arc of the show so far? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, you might as well like the video, share it with anyone else who you think would enjoy my content, subscribe if you haven't. You can also check out the various links in the description of this video, including the links to my first 2 novels, which are currently on sale. In the meantime, though, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.